When Jan and I were praying about whether or not to come to Lake Point, our default answer was no. We asked a spiritual mentor of mine how we should pray about it, and his response was, what's happening at your church in Nashville is so significant, you shouldn't even consider leaving unless you have a miraculous sign from God. So we made this decision that we weren't gonna tell any of our kids that we were praying about it, just because sometimes adopted children, well, sometimes they deal with change differently than other people. We had one time we got a new stove and one of our kids cried for a week. It's just a little different. One morning while we were praying about this, our oldest daughter, Eliana, was 8 years old at the time. And remember this, at the time of this story, she'd been a Christian for 8 months. Now let me ask you this question. When a young person becomes a Christian, do they get a JV Holy Spirit or do they get the whole thing? Okay. So Eliana comes down the stairs while we're praying about this, looks at me and Jana, and she says, are we moving to Texas? And I looked at Jana and I said, you blew it. Jana's looking at me and she's going, you blew it. Was it you? And we kind of exchanged glances and we realized, okay, neither of us did it. So then we looked back at Eliana and we said, what makes you say that? Now remember what the passage we read said. It talks about dreaming dreams and seeing visions. Eliana on the stairs said, well, I had a dream last night and it felt like the dream was real. And in the dream, Daddy moved to Texas to be a pastor. And then she went on. Now, before I tell you the last part, we were in the process of trying to adopt our son, Hudson. We were approved, I think, in 48 states, and we were waiting for a phone call, and we hadn't got one. It was very odd. Then Eliana says, as the last part, she said, I had a dream last night. It felt like a real dream. In the dream, Daddy moved to Texas to be a pastor, and she said, in the dream, Hudson was there, not here, and that's why we haven't gotten him yet. Within 1 week of Eliana saying that, so in less than 7 days, we got our first phone call from the adoption agency about a boy that was a possibility for us to adopt. Remember, we're approved in 48 states. Jana asked the question, where is he? And through the phone came back the response, Dallas, Texas. Now listen to me. You will never convince me God doesn't speak to his children. You'll never convince me. And listen, some of you have in your spirit that God used to do those things, but he doesn't do anymore. Can I say this to you? It is actually an insult to the living God to think that he used to do those things, but he doesn't want to do them now. And he doesn't want to do them for you. Do you know why? Because his name is not the great I was. His name is the great I am.